Hi everyone, and thanks for inviting me to speak all the way from Europe. I'm Inka, and I work for one of the leading cybersecurity software companies, CyberSafe, and our focus is on educating, nudging, and providing real-time online security solutions to help our customers to manage the human cybersecurity risk. But let's get real. First of all, I'm going to confess that I am scared of people and computers. There is so many of you out there in the audience, but actually I'm not scared of you guys behind the screens, because hopefully you'll be listening to me and not trying to hack me in cyberspace. So please do keep those comments going on the chat. But if we think of it, there are people who sit behind their computers around the world. They are trying to hack our systems, steal our data, money and identities, or just they try to have a bit of fun. They are collating our data and even utilizing now artificial intelligence as we speak. The cyberspace at the moment is far more scarier than presenting in any conference. So now that we got over the hard part, let's get to the business. Today, I will talk about how to apply user research methods and behavioral science to cybersecurity and protect people from cyber criminals. This could potentially save you, your family, or your organization quite a few dollars. But let's start from not so fun facts. 82% of breaches involve the human element. These include social attacks, human errors, and computer misuse. The cost of the data breach is predicted to rise from 3 trillion each year to more than 5 trillion in 2024. But what if you could help people to make better online security decisions? If we moved beyond the compliance tick boxes in security training and awareness, could we then possibly influence these figures? And as a bonus, if you haven't done so already, by the end of my session, I hope I have convinced you to change at least one of your security behaviors. So my agenda is super simple. I will try to answer what are we bad at, why are we bad at it, and what did we do about it? And eventually, how can we become good at it? So during this session, I will refer to our 2 flagship research projects. First one being our annual Cybersecurity Attitudes and Behaviors Report, also known as the O-Behave. We conduct this report yearly and release it during the Cybersecurity Awareness Month in October. We do this in partnership with the National Cybersecurity Alliance in the US. Today's figures are related to our 2023 report, and with over 6,000 participants. So these are really fresh from the data analysts' desks. And also, I will talk about our government-funded research report. This is known as the QUIRKS project, which was a year-long project focused on examining personalized interventions for human cyber resilience. So, what are we particularly bad at? During our QUIRKS project, we collated evidence on key cybersecurity behaviors that we absolutely suck at. We presented these behaviors to our expert working group and narrowed them down to 3 key behaviors. Number 1 culprit is our password creation. We love our family and we love our old password techniques from decades ago. Who remembers logging into their work account by using the password "let me in"? Second is our ability to manage passwords. Unless we use the same password, how are we going to remember a number of them? Personally, I have over 100 passwords and a very bad memory to even recall 3 of them. Third, less understood concept is multi-factor authentication. There are people who don't know what this is and how to apply it. So before we start, let's play. Which one of these is the strongest password? And if you go to the polls, you can vote. Tick if you think it's A, protected with clever character replacements. Who think it is B, Hippo Pizza Rocket 1? What about C? I will not try to read that. And finally, D, Sarah James 92. And I'll give you a little moment to vote. And I will share my thoughts about the strongest password in a moment, but well done for voting. Let's see, how good is your password? As part of our projects, we asked everyday people a few yes and no questions in relation to their main email accounts. How would you answer them? Is your password memorable without writing it down? Is your password under 12 characters long? Does it include dates such as birthdays or even your wedding date? Does it contain the names of your family members or pets? Do you use this password for other accounts? And I'm going to keep rolling with the polls. This one is totally optional, but let's share how we are doing. How many of these did you say yes to? And there is a poll on the sideline, and we can look at it in the moment. What I would like to know is, did this question make you feel uncomfortable about the strength of your password? Some might have, and I am going to see the results to what happened there. So there are a couple of people saying 1, 2, and great if you say that your passwords are random. This is good news. But if you answered yes to even one of these statements before, you are not as safe as you think. So my confession number 2, I have used this example before for an audience, and I had to go and change my work password afterwards as it related to 2 of these questions. So I'm human, just like everybody else. And to my defense, I had created my password before I joined CyberSafe and did my company's training modules. So we are humans, not machines, but don't just take my word for it. We also asked the general public about their password creation habits, so there is no shame putting your hands up. What we found was that a third used the same password for their important online accounts, and 76% admitted they didn't create long passwords. Further, 34% created passwords using a single dictionary word with character replacements. And almost a third of the passwords included names of family members or pets and some birthdays. And going back in time, when I used this example a year ago, I realized that my password included the name of my parrot, George. But don't worry, I changed that. I am safe now. So the question I asked a moment ago, let's see how good these passwords are. And for old time's sake, I'm going to throw in the let me in with just extra number 1 to keep us amused. So I placed these passwords into 2 systems. How secure is my password, and have I been pawned? By the way, they're both safe and secure to use, so you can try yourself as we speak. I will start with what I thought would be the weakest password, and then look into how long it takes for a computer to do a brute force attack. This means that computer will try every single combination to crack it. I will also check the number of times the password has been pawned. This means that it had appeared in data leak and should never be used. Then I guesstimate whether it's memorable or not, and this is just my opinion. So I would say the weakest one here is Sarah James 92. For brute force attack, it isn't too bad. It's 2,000 years of guessing. But if you use open source intelligence, things that are known about you online, it is easy for a computer to set up a nice list of options to start with. For example, this could be your children's names and the year they were born. Then it would be cracked in an instant, and we call this the spidering attack. So let's look at protected. Here, some vowels have been replaced by numbers, and this is a very common technique for us humans to be super clever. But brute force takes 5 years. Fair enough. But the bad news is that it has been pawned 11 times. So when a computer goes through the most leaked passwords, it will hit it instantly. Now, this might surprise you. Password I will never be able to pronounce or remember is cracked in 9 hours. Good news that it hasn't been pawned and part of the data leaks, but I don't think we really care about that anymore. And the strongest password is Hippo Pizza Rocket 1. It is made out of 3 random words. It will take computer 2 trillion years to hack, and so far it hasn't been pawned either. Bonus is that I can remember this after a little practice. So how did our Let Me In do? Well, cracked instantly and pawned way over 120,000 times. I am actually not sure if I'll tweet these results, but yes, if you are curious how your password is doing and if you're brave enough, check it out and post it on a chat in the poll there, next to poll. At this point, you might say, but hold on, Inka, I really can't be bothered with passwords. I have nothing to lose anyway. I call this the frequently made excuse. But okay, if you can't really be bothered, then please do something else. You could start by using password management strategies. A beginner option would be a web browser extension. For example, Google does great suggestions on long and difficult passwords and saves them in your account. Just make sure that your master password is strong and memorable. More advanced would be to install a standalone application that has all your password in it. But if you still find this impossible to do, then use you. This is called the multi-factor authentication. It can be a code sent to your phone or your fingerprint or even your face. Adding this to your account prevents 99.9% of attacks. But that said, sadly, we are also bad at protecting ourselves with methods that could secure even the weakest passwords. MFA still tends to be a mystery to many, so I call it the never heard authentication. Because nearly a third of the 6,000 people we surveyed had never heard of it, and even those people who had an idea what it is don't use it. So I wasn't surprised. We are connected online, but we are disconnected with what technology can do to help us and what we can do to help each other. So why is it so hard? Let's get to the root cause, and I will start with a question. Why are we bad at it? We tend to get confused with widely available online information on the topic. That said, old guidelines and beliefs about good cybersecurity are still deeply rooted in our brains. These include things like change your password every 3 months and create a password with random characters that you can't remember. And when we try to create one, it is impossible to get it right. This is me trying to create an account for airlines website using 3 random words technique, the correct one in my head. So apparently passwords should be between 10 and 20 characters, 1 number, not include special characters or space. What? I obviously gave up and used another provider. No wonder behavior change is hard. This feels even worse if you're working in the IT or cybersecurity field. As a psychologist who has gone in the field of cyber, I can safely say I have been on both sides of this story. So I'm going to emphasize the user view and take human-centered approach, looking cybersecurity behavior change. The main question here is, now that you know what a good password is it helpful? If you're not doing it already, will you start taking protective action? I would love it to be so simple. We are surrounded by various sources of information telling us how to best protect ourselves, but awareness efforts don't directly translate to change in people's behaviors. Most of us know what to do. We have the means and even good intentions to do right. And we fall into the pit of context, which include mental, physical, situational, and social excuses. So Homer should create better passwords, use a password manager, and even add on multi-factor authentication. But there are other things, such as donuts. Due to various reasons, such as being under pressure or even hunger, we turn from Homo economicus to Homer Simpson. Same story with employees. They aren't there to intentionally place organization under risk. They intend to do good and keep their jobs. But behavioral intention doesn't equal behavior change. But not to worry, all is not lost. Perhaps some well-known and used theories could come to our rescue. So this is known as the COM-B model, which is widely successfully applied in health-related research. It suggests that a behavior is the result of interaction between person's capability, opportunity, and motivation, which then brings on behavior. I will introduce it here briefly for those who are less familiar with it. So, to be capable of a behavior, an individual must have the requisite knowledge, but they also must be motivated to take action, and they need to be in the right environment so they do not fall in the pit of context. Here, bridging the gap between knowing, i.e. capability, and doing happens by taking into account both the opportunity and motivation. So, what motivates people to take action to protect themselves online? What are the opportunity barriers that hinder their good security behaviors? We mapped all these reasons into COM-B model, and I have provided some qualitative evidence to support. So let's see what they are. First, capability. We have limitation in our cognitive processing. Most people find passwords impossible to remember, hence they write it down and keep it forever without changing them. We also make decisions without processing information. Here is one of the biases. We don't think that the risk concerns us. It is the other people who are the problem. And as mentioned earlier, some people aren't even aware that these tools exist. Remember our MFA example? On the other hand, campaigns scare people. News headlines are full of cyber attacks and people are aware, but what they lack are coping strategies. I'm aware of the risks, but it is too difficult as well as time-consuming to do anything about it. What about opportunity barriers? Quite scary one to note was that our environments aren't supportive of cybersecurity. Even some companies aren't recommending taking certain actions. My fave of all times is the security and productivity seesaw. We have a lot of tasks to do, and security just gets in the way, and we end up cutting corners. This is closely related to a motivational aspect, what I call the hassle factor. Our perfection and desire of doing the right thing can also get in the way of taking action. Our online presence has just gone too far, and the task itself seems impossible. So personally, I love this quote. In order to use Password Manager properly, I would need to get all my passwords, and it will take forever to do. And finally, motivational barriers. We have beliefs and expectations. Gaining trust of a new technology that could help us is difficult. Why would anyone place all their eggs in one basket? Why having 100 passwords under one password would be safe? And with MFA, back in the days, we have been forced to take action with very cumbersome methods, such as having to wait for MFA codes or even using external fobs or card readers. Well, nowadays, some applications allow us to do authentication in much more simpler ways, such as fingerprints and facial recognition. But the old experiences and memories still persist. It is just too cumbersome, too hard, too difficult. Hearing others talking about their negative experiences is even worse. We are social learners, so we are often influenced by other experiences and end up not giving it a try. So using examples from the research, I will show you that we can influence security behaviors. So how can we become good at it? By applying behavioral science. Ta-da! Since we dealt with everyday people, I will mainly concentrate on A, what person knows, and B, what person does, but also highlight the importance of the environment here. And our second solution to become better at it is by adding personalization. This could take into account people's needs, individual characters, that we call personalization factors. In our research, we looked at 5 of these: socio-demographic variables, education and work-related risk factors, and even personality traits and interests. We can even personalize by the 6th overarching factor, that is the COM-B model. Then we dig deeper into the COM-B, what behavior change techniques we could use to address the barriers to good security behaviors. Here, a BCT is an observable and replicable intervention element designed to change behavior. Plenty of them have been identified, and research evidence has been gathered to support them. And you can check the theory and technique tool online that is freely available as well. In this project, we were limited by the time. So we had to narrow down our variables, and our main 2 personalization factors were age and personality in security-related messaging. Also, whether a person had been a victim of fraud or used the computers for work or purposes were added to the mix. Out of the 93 potential BCTs, experts identified a handful for implementation, and these were salience of consequences, that became known as the risk message, behavioral practice, action planning, which includes goal setting, and as an overarching BCT, instructions on how to perform the behavior. Now our magical BCTs and personalization factors are ready. I will share with you a sneak peek of the intervention itself. First of all, we designed content that is accessible to all and positively framed with images, and they start our CyberSafe Lammers robot. Accessibility and friendliness were supported with easy instructions on how to perform the behavior. Here's an example of a password management advice with different levels of effort, whether to save them on a website browser or standalone password manager. One of the key BCTs in the experiment was our risk message. This was tailored according to the responses people gave in their pre-surveys. First, the person who scored low on security behaviors intention scale was deemed at risk. Then we looked at what age group they belonged to and whether they had any other risk factors, such as having been previous victim of fraud. And we also personalized the message according to one of the personality traits. We used Big 5 model of personality here. So this is an example of our tailored content shown to the participants. Here, we are not just saying to them that you are at risk, but we give reasons why and what types of risk. Behavioral practice was the second main BCT, and its purpose was to increase people's confidence through practice. They were encouraged to perform the behavior in real time, there and then. And here is an example of password creation task. We are asking people to create passphrase for a fictional character, Samantha, following our advice. After this, they were encouraged to create a unique password for themselves and apply it to their main important online account. And our final BCT was action planning. Like with every behavior change intervention, people have good intentions to change and be protected. So why not help them? After we asked what types of accounts they would like to protect, we asked them to identify accounts and pick a task they pledge to do. They identified dates and times when they were most likely to be available. The message here reinforced that it is not at all time-consuming to take action. All it takes is 5 minutes or less, and every little helps. This action plan was then presented in PDF format so they could either save it or print it out. So what do you think? Would you find these helpful? What had the biggest effect on behavior change, if any? And again, let's wake you up there if you're listening. Please vote for A, personalized risk message, B, behavioral practice, C, action planning, D, all of the above, or if you like Metallica songs, nothing else really matters and it doesn't work. Give you a couple of moments to vote. And before I reveal what BCT worked, let's see what we discovered in our usability study results. Altogether, we recruited 11 people and we ran Think Aloud studies where people interacted with the platform. So does the intervention provide a user journey that can support security behavior change? And I will explain the results using the COM-B model. How do we improve capability? Let's help them to be the choice architects. Here we create an environment that helps people to make the best decisions while giving them their space to choose. We started this by improving their awareness and knowledge. Here someone's fingers were burning to get started after we increased their knowledge and confidence. But how did we do that? We reduced the need for cognitive processes and guided their decisions to good choices. Here they were able to choose their level of effort and provided bite-sized information. Also, we provided fewer choices and suggestions that have been trusted and are doable. And the action plan that can be printed was found very helpful here. What about opportunity? Here, the results showed that we had created a supportive online environment. We used positive messaging, broke down tasks, made them socially acceptable, and even provided information that could make them the expert. We embedded security as part of the productivity by providing quick resources that are easily accessible. Instead of taking a long time to do, we asked people to set goals and make an action plan that indicated when they had few minutes to take protective action. Also, we love busting beliefs, especially in relation to MFA, and showed it that it is not an extra hassle at all. And finally, how did we influence motivation? Well, we explained this stuff. Beliefs, expectations, and negative past experiences were counteracted with correct information. We built trust and focused on positives, offering support and timely practice. By increasing confidence and setting expectations that your actions have an effect, we increase the capability and opportunity, which in turn can create motivation. So offering support here helps. It is great to have feedback saying that staying secure online isn't that difficult at all. Our main research question was whether personalization leads to more effective behavior change. So we looked at what effects our 3 behavior change techniques had on change in objective password behaviors and self-reported data. Briefly, our objective measure was a separate task where we asked participants to set up an online email account. They were then prompted to create a secure but memorable password. The system recorded their password entropy details and compared them with each other pre and post intervention. Glad to say that our efforts weren't wasted. Our objective task results were promising. Here, 70% changed their password for better. Overall, there was an improvement in the password scores for all experimental conditions when a BCT was present. But a digital intervention with a risk message, behavioral practice, and action planning has the greatest potential to assist with security behavior change, especially for password-related behaviors. And great stuff if you answered D, although I do like my Metallica songs. What about our surveys? It was interesting to see that 44% reported having changed their passwords, and out of these, 79% applied the 3 random words advice. 84% abandoned the use of their family members or pets' names, including me. 66% who had previously created a short password now created longer ones. Sadly, as with any experiment run digitally, it was harder to objectively measure password management strategies and MFA. And here we couldn't find significant improvements based on self-reported data. There was some hope though. 23% of participants who had not applied MFA reported adding extra protection to their main email account, and 16% of those who had not used Password Manager before started using one. Also, a quarter noted that they had started saving passwords in their browser. We noted that old habits die hard, as nearly a quarter reported using other methods to manage their passwords. Here, writing them down in the notebook was the most popular, and who can blame them? We still need to work on trust aspects of all the password management strategies. So hopefully I have shown that with little effort, we can become good at it. What we need to understand is what people do, why people do what they do, and how can we help them. This requires both user research and behavioral science. We start from discovery phase, identifying barriers and root causes, and then we design meaningful interventions based on evidence-based research that can be evaluated and measured. So we're nearly there. I just talked about how you can take action to protect yourself and your family from cyber criminals. I started with 3 behaviors we are bad at. Then I moved on to the barriers, which mostly related to the fact that we are humans. It is simply a hassle, right? I still think it is, but I'll take actions. Finally, I talked about what can we do to improve our security behaviors. We then covered supporting research and our intervention development. Most importantly, I hope that you noticed that I also tried to use these 3 behavior change techniques during my presentation to change your online security behaviors. So salience of consequences, or other words, the risk message. I hope it is loud and clear. Behavioral practice. This includes tips on how you can cope and strengthen your accounts. And finally, I touched on goal setting and action planning, which I will leave you to do at home when you have a few minutes. So thank you. And if you wish to know more, please contact me. I am super happy to link in with everyone who wish to add behavioral science or cyber psychology in their work. And if you are interested in what we do at CyberSafe, please have a look at our platform. It is all backed up by behavioral science. I think we have little time for Q&A if I haven't overrun. I didn't have a timer, so thank you so much.
Great job. Yes, we do have a little bit of time for a Q&A, about 10 minutes. If anyone has any questions, feel free to put them in the session chat and we can go over them right now. But yeah, amazing job, Inka.
Great. If there is no questions, I'm always happy to hang out in networking.
Definitely. Awesome. Well, it looks like there's no questions as of now, so feel free to hang out here. If not, we have a break until 11:30 until our next round of sessions, but Thank you so much for your presentation. I really enjoyed listening to it.
Thank you, Abby, and thank you for listening.